Hi guys, welcome to this new series of Cornerstone Youth Podcasts. We're kind of moving on a little bit from our Life in Lockdown series now, although I guess some of the themes we're going to be picking up are still going to be pretty pertinent to this time. But for those of you who don't know me, my name is Hannah and I am one of the Cornerstone Youth team. And I am joined today by Joel Clayton. Hi, Joel. Do you want to introduce yourself? What brings you onto the podcast?
Yeah, so my name's Joel. I am originally from West Yorkshire. Grew up there, came to university at Trent to study physics a couple of years ago, and now I am the youth intern for the year. So working mainly with GAP, but there's a bit of plunge in there as well. So, yeah.
Okay, so mainly 11 to 14s, bit of 15 to 18s for anyone who isn't at Cornerstone. And how are you finding that? How's it been so far? No pressure.
It's been really good. I'm enjoying it. It's different than what I've done before. I've not done much youth work before. I've done a bit, but not very much. But I'm enjoying it. It's the kids come out with stuff that you don't expect sometimes, in a good way, and that really helps me in my understanding. And I hope that I'm helping them in theirs, and that I've been walking with God since about 6 years old. So hopefully there is some wisdom that I have that I can pass on to them. Yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah, I'm sure there is. So what brought you to doing the internship?
I was a bit confused about where God wanted me, to be honest with you. I didn't know where he wanted me to go. So I kind of came to a crossroads, and so last year I did tried doing a master's. That did not work out for several reasons, and while doing that I also applied to do the internship here to see if ministry was an option that I could take. So far I'm really enjoying it. I do miss physics as well, because I'm a nerd and I love that kind of stuff. But I am enjoying what I'm doing here. It's lovely to be in an office with loads of people who I know already, and just it's one of the most welcoming environments I've ever been in, which is also fantastic. But it was sort of a thing of deciding where to go next, and we shall see what God has in store with that.
Great. Yeah, well, we're certainly very glad that he led you to this point. We're loving having you as part of the youth team. So obviously it's been a strange time for anyone to start a new job. I know I've started a new job I don't know whether it's called the season lockdown anymore. It kind of is sort of lockdown, and we may well be heading back there this week, but yeah, it's an unusual time, isn't it? So how have you found that as an experience?
Overall, okay. Like, it's a bit difficult on Thursdays we do a training course to be able to read and teach the Bible better, and that's a bit odd because that's all on Zoom this year for obvious reasons. So that's a bit strange, and it could well be the case that I'm going to have to start working from home again over the next couple of weeks. I hope not, because I work better from the office, but it could well be the case that I have to, in which case that's another adjustment period of what does it mean for me to work at home, with a housemate as well. That's going to be a bit another part of the challenge. And what does it mean for me to work well at home, and how do I put myself in a headspace where I can be allowed to work well at home?
Yeah, it's tricky, isn't it? Is there anything that you feel like God's been, I don't know, teaching you or showing you, or ways he's been refining you in the challenges?
Yeah, I think trust is a big thing. The trusting God about what's happening next, in particular where we've been in a lockdown and you're like, oh, there's a trial here, and then you get through the other end of the trial and it looks like the trial might come back. And it's just trusting God that is a good and right thing that is making me more like Christ, which is a very, very difficult thing to do, but is important because it helps us to overcome things, because these are challenging times, but equally we have a God who's overcome all these challenges. So through him we can overcome these different challenges that we have.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's funny you should use the word overcome, Joel.
It's almost like I thought about this.
Joel and I were having a bit of a think the other day about a topic or a theme for this new podcast series, and we were thinking that this has been a season where there have been loads of different kinds of challenges, and some of us will have felt some of them more than others, but we thought we would focus this series around the theme of overcoming. So Joel, do you want to just give us a little rundown of what we've got coming up?
Yeah, so we've got this introductory episode, obviously, and then I'm not sure what the timescale is going to be yet, but
I'm not sure on orders, but
but the different topics that we've got are, we got overcoming uncertainty. So obviously we're in very uncertain times, and people have had weddings cancelled, and people have got new jobs and are losing jobs and are being made redundant and are at risk of losing jobs, and there's lots of uncertainty within those things. And so we're going to talk about overcoming that, and what does it mean for us as Christians to overcome uncertainty. And then we're overcoming depression. It's a very lonely time for a lot of people, as they don't get to see don't get to see loved ones, they don't get to see friends, family that they would normally get to see, and so they don't have as much social interaction. Humans are social beings, and the fact that people can't have that means that a lot of depression, I think particularly during lockdown, that was a big issue, was depression. I know for me, my mental health suffered in lockdown, so I think it's very pertinent that we talk about those things.
Yes.
Overcoming boredom, which is a bit different, but is also a key part of lockdown. Lockdown was also quite a boring time for a lot of people, as they just sat there and watched telly for all day, every day, because they couldn't do work. And I know that's not necessarily the case with you guys as youth, but that can still be an element of Pardon?
I was just saying, I'm sure there was some telly watching going
on.
Oh,
absolutely. I'm not denying that. But I feel like I would have hoped you guys have kept busy enough with schoolwork. But either way, there is still an element of boredom there, again, because you're not seeing your friends, you're not seeing the people that you would enjoy spending time with, and you're kind of doing the same activities over and over again, which can seriously get bored. So what does it mean for us as Christians to overcome the boredom and to find joy in everyday life, in lockdown, where it's even more samey than necessarily a normal week in life? And then we're going to talk about overcoming illness. Now, obviously, this has all been caused by an illness, but equally, we're also going to talk about the difficulties that a long-term illness can cause for you as a person. We're going to talk about how God speaks into those situations, and talk about suffering and all that kind of stuff. That it's really, really difficult things. And in my opinion, it's the most what's the way to say it? It's the most powerful argument against the Christian God that atheists and other such people have, is why would a good God allow suffering in the world? That is, for me, the most powerful argument and the most compelling one. There are answers to it, however, it's still very difficult for people who are suffering. So we're going to talk to people about that. We're going to talk about that. Then we're going to talk about overcoming disappointment. So having your wedding cancelled, and when you're anticipating it so much. A lot of people have had that. Overcoming the fact that you've had a funeral for a loved one and you've not been able to have as many people as you wanted, and all those kind of things. Very serious stuff, but or even then not getting the results that you wanted at GCSE and A-level. Like, that's also a big thing that a lot of people have had. It's been rectified in theory anyway, but that is also extremely important, and it's good to talk about those things. And then we're going to talk about overcoming insecurities, and this is also an extremely important one to do with depression. We're going to talk about body image and self-image, and what we think about ourselves, and how God speaks into that, because that's extremely important, and that's a very serious issue that I know a lot of you guys are facing today. So we want to talk about that, and we're going to bring in lots of different guests, hopefully. We have plans to do that, and so hopefully we'll bring those in and we can chat to them about these different topics and their experiences and how that can speak to you guys as youth. So we're thinking mainly, my mind went to Philippians 4:13, where Paul says, "I can do all this through him who gives me strength." It's not us; it's Christ who gives us strength. It's Christ who we overcome this by, and that is extremely important. That we don't emphasize that it's us. We emphasize that it's God who does it.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, when we were thinking about kind of different passages that spoke to this topic, my mind went to Psalm 121, which is quite a famous one. Some of you might have heard it before. I'll just read it because it's not very long. And it says, "I lift my eyes to the mountains. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. He will not let your foot slip. He who watches over you will not slumber. Indeed, he who watches over Israel will neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord watches over you. The Lord is your shade at your right hand. The sun will not harm you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord will keep you from all harm. He will watch over your life. The Lord will watch over your coming and going, both now and forevermore." And really, it was the first two verses of that. So, I lift my eyes to the mountains. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. Those are the verses that I thought about in particular, I guess. It's got potentially a bit of a double meaning. I've heard about it spoken in a couple of different ways. One being that in the Old Testament, God's kind of presence was at Mount Zion. So lifting your eyes to the mountains, you could think of that as people are lifting their eyes to where they thought God was, and they were looking to him for help in whatever situation they were facing. Another meaning that I've heard is that in the ancient world, if you were going to need to go on a long journey, you might need to pass through some mountains on foot or on a donkey or whatever. But in those mountains, there were quite often bandits and people who were going to be looking to ambush you and steal your stuff and potentially even leave you for dead. And so it was going to be an uncertain and dangerous journey. And I guess that's, we've kind of come out of one side of lockdown, so it kind of felt like we were coming out from that difficult situation, and now it's a bit uncertain again, and we're not really sure what's coming, but we can lift our eyes from our situation, and as we're looking ahead to that uncertainty, and maybe with some fear or just some frustration that it's ongoing, actually the Lord is our help. He is a maker of heaven and earth, and he won't let our foot slip, and he doesn't sleep on the job. So we can trust him, and we can overcome with his help. So those are the things that we are going to be looking at in this series, guys. We're really excited. We're aware that there's some really big topics, and Joel and I don't have all the wisdom on it. We're going to be trying to bring in some people, like Joel was saying, who have some really helpful first-hand experiences. So we would love for you to join us in future episodes, and keep your eyes peeled, and they will appear on YouTube and on the youth website. Is that correct, John?
Yes.
Brilliant. Great. Well, thanks so much for joining us, and we wish you a very blessed week. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.